Good morning and welcome to Craft. I'm Natalie and I'm going to be taking you through some mobile apps today in case you're wondering why you have a lovely picture of flowers at the moment. So what I'm going to do, if Ian can, have you got the iPad up and open?
I can have, yeah. Tracy says, speaking of mobile apps, I'm on my iPad. Mouse died again on the desktop, and are you feeling better?
Yes, I'm feeling better. Yeah, yesterday was a nice slow day, wasn't it?
Yes, we didn't do a lot yesterday.
No, so it took me all day to do one card yesterday, so probably wouldn't have been a good day to stream.
Your flowers are very pretty, so you can explain about the flowers if you want.
Okay, the flowers that you can see are actually from, mostly from our wedding, and then I've added in a few lovely grey blooms to match our decor. They were from Dunelm, and then I still have, believe it or not, some Christmas baubles still hiding in the arrangement because I haven't got round to sorting it out yet.
Okay, shall we just switch to iPad?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So I'm going to start off with an app called Adobe Capture. So I'll just press the logo and go into that. And Adobe Capture is really good to work with your ScanNCut, but also to work as a crafter, as a kind of general approach. Everything okay?
Has it done anything?
Yeah. I should be in Adobe Capture now. That's the alright cable, isn't it?
It should be, yeah.
Do you want to swap? Very quickly. Pop up the, well, just swap the cables over, just because you should be able to see.
Now we are.
Okay, sorry about that. So, what I was saying was, Adobe Capture is a good way, not just for the ScanNCut, but also for craft in general. So I'm going to start off with the shapes function, which you'll find in the middle of the screen at the top. So if I just go in the camera, so right there. So you can either do this to an image that you've already taken, or maybe one that you've downloaded if you're being naughty. You shouldn't really, unless it's a kind of royalty-free image that you know you have a license to. I'm going to use my camera, which is why I have these lovely flowers here. And in the top left corner you can see a little artist palette. And if we press that...
No, they can't.
Oh, hang on. Honestly, you can't get the stuff these days, can you? Do you want to just move the overhead one?
That's what I was going to put on the other.
Just take it out of the way for a minute.
Turn it off.
Yeah, I'll tell you when to turn it back on.
There you go.
Okay. So in the top left there's a little palette button. Okay. If we press that, it comes up with two options down the side. One which is a palette, which means colour, and one which looks like the little contrast option, and that means that it is black and white. Okay, so the black and white is very good for creating files that we can use in our ScanNCut. So what I'm going to do is, on the right hand side you have a slider, and that changes the amount of contrast that you have. So you see, if I go up the slider, it gets more contrasted, so you can pick out detail in your lighter flowers. And when you're happy, take a picky. Okay, it then comes through and it pulls through what it thinks you want it to do. You can then draw in black areas, or you can erase out black areas. So, for instance, in this bottom right hand corner, there's a little area that kind of doesn't make sense. It would make sense to be black down there. So you can go with a brush, and I'm just going to brush it out. For this one, you can just use a finger. And likewise, if there's little tiny bits that you know that are just going to get lost, you can just take them out. That's cool. So we can go done. You then go to smooth, and that's what traces it and turns it into a path. So with your smooth, you can have it off or on. So at the moment it's off, and that's probably going to be the better option for this image, but we will try it on. So it takes a little bit of time for it to compute. So bear with it. But then each black area becomes a shape. So you can then use this to foil with on your machine, you can use it to draw with on your machine. And I've even gone so far as to actually use one of these files really big as a cut file. So this isn't going to be something that you're going to work with on a card necessarily, just because it's so detailed in terms of a cut file, but you could draw it small. But if you're cutting it, you're going to be either looking at a scrapbook page, or maybe even at a large 12 by 24 panel. This is going to be a big piece because it's thinking a lot. Fill in the gap here. How can they get it onto their iPad or onto their tablet?
What, the programs?
Yeah.
Which are we using? Adobe?
Yeah, Adobe Capture.
Adobe Capture is an app from Adobe. I think it's a free one, isn't it? Adobe.
Yes.
Yes, so it's a free one from Adobe. So if you go on to either the App Store or Play Store, depending on which system you're on, you can download Adobe Capture for free. Other apps that we're using is Affinity Designer, which is $9.99, which you can buy at the moment. It's half price at the moment, which is $9.99, half price, sorry. Which you can get for your iPad. I don't know if you can get that on Play Store.
On Android.
Android.
I believe so.
There you go. So you
I
should be able
believe
to
so.
use it, so, yeah.
We don't have an up-to-date Android to run it on though, do we?
No, I didn't check that on, so I would have thought they do because they cover every other base with everything else. So.
Okay, so you can now see that it has completed the design, and we can just go to save, and we can save it to our library. So if you do have a Creative Cloud subscription, by saving it to your library, it automatically sends it to all your desktop apps as well as your tablet apps, so you can go save. And you'll see it automatically saves it as an SVG, so you can then export it to iCloud, to Dropbox, and then of course into Canvas eventually. So that is one of the things that I do love Capture for, is the ability to take a photo and convert it, and it does it so much better than trying to do that through image tracing. So that's a definite must-have. Now, before I go too far, I want to show you the new feature they've got. So I'm going to go back into Shapes. I'm going to go across here a little. I'm going to go back up to my contrast one and go back to my palette. Say hello, Parker. Okay, so it's a bit dark for you there, isn't it? Yes, it is. There we go. So we can take a picky And you can actually do like a colour one. That didn't come out too good, so let's go back. Because nothing is frozen till you click save. Let's go that way.
It's a scary bear in black and white.
It is a scary bear in black and white. He's a lovely bear, aren't he? Yes, you are. Okay. He's not coming out very well on that, is he? No. It's because the light's behind you. You're looking a bit evil there, Sunshine. So, just in case, I'll go back to a flower. Let's pick a different view. Let's go for this one. Back there. I'm gonna go. There we go. So, if you wanted to with this one, you could cut it out from lots of different colours if you wanted to. You could use it to say that you take it into Illustrator or into Designer and take the colour out of it and just have like the outline and almost do a paint by numbers if you wanted to. But it's a cool function to have, and I really like it as a look as well. So as before, you can still go in and edit it. So if I go to my little eraser, and there's a little pair of scissors. So if we click on the scissors, we can just tap colours to take them out. So if we know we've got background that we want to take out, we can just do it that way. And it's nice and simple. So all you do is just little taps. And you can even take that one out if you don't think it makes sense. Then with your little leftover bits, tap the scissors again. And they'll go grey, which means that it's not active anymore. This little slider on the bottom controls the size of your brush, so I don't want it too big. And at this point, I can bring in my pen, just to make life a little easier for me. And you can just erase them out.
Where are your scissor tool and bits at the bottom? Your scissor tool and bits there.
Yeah. Hang on, I go back that way. Do you want to just take the logo off for a second so people can see?
It's a long way up to get to the... I won't take the logo off, I'll just move it up so you can see the bottom of the screen.
Okay. So that you can see the little scissors down the bottom. So when they're grey like that, it's just like a normal eraser. When they're blue, it's when you can do the click to delete. So again, you could then take that into outline form and use it for stamping or to create new stamps with. There's lots of different ways that you can play with that one. So that's a really brand new feature, so we can go done. And I don't need to crop it anymore. Actually, saying that, I'm just going to take it up just a little. There we go. And then if we go to preview. Any questions so far?
No.
Okay. So I'm happy with that. And you can see in between each colour is a very faint white line, and that's just to show that all those shapes are individual. So when we take it through to our next program, whatever that may be, you've actually got a really editable version to work with, so you can do so much with it. Okay. You can see I had a bit of a play preparing. So there's loads of other things that we can do with this app. We can create brushes. We can create patterns. So if you wanted to do your own backing papers from your photos, you can do. The look is useful for if you do a lot of photo editing. So that gives you different tints based on your photo that you can then apply to other photos, videos, so forth. Materials more if you get into 3D modelling. And the other thing that we can do is we can actually do font recognition. So, if I bring in a magazine, Do you want to put the overhead on for this one? Let's find a page. There we go. So you can do this with any printed material that you want to recognise a font. So I'm going to go to type at the top. I'm going to go to the camera because I want to use the camera rather than a saved image. I'm going to focus a little rectangle on the text that I want to
Turn this back on the
select.
iPad for a minute.
Yeah, so yeah. I only wanted a little picture of the overhead.
Thank you.
Okay. Gonna make it work now because it's gonna go. Oh, that's quite a big area. So you can see straight away it's picked up that there's a script font that is on the page, and it comes up with a few different options for what we can go for. Now that Mr. Blaketon actually is quite close. I quite like that. And all of these fonts are in a part of Adobe Type. So the good thing to that is if you do subscribe to either Creative Cloud, it's part of Creative Cloud, or if you subscribe independently to Adobe Type, is they're all commercial fonts. So if you want to use them for commercial use, you can do. Okay, so at this point we choose which one we think is closest. And as I said, I think Mr. Plate one is close. So I can go save, and it will save it to my library, so if I'm working on something, it will pull that through, so I can just pick it up. Next, just because he's sat there so quietly and nicely, let's show you what else you can do with our little bear. So if we go to colours, you'll see I've already done one colour theme, and go photo. This is where you can start to play with colour. So it will automatically pick a colour range based on what it sees in the camera. So if we zoom right into our bear, easy, starting to pick up the colours of the bear. If we go to our flowers, it starts to pick up the colours of the flowers. So I quite like that as a little colour scheme there. Then we can save that, and you've got lots of cool features that you can do in here. So harmonies, you can go in and you can see the actual swatches. So if you're working with something like Affinity Designer do print and cut, you can actually use your references to make sure that you're colour accurate. And you can see the original image that you have used to create your little palette. So we can go save, and it pulls it through as a colour theme. You can also publish your colour themes to adobe.com if you choose. You don't have to. So let's say we want to start a new pattern. I'm going to do it with a camera because it's funky with a camera, because it does it all on the fly. So if you want a teddy bear pattern, you can do a teddy bear pattern. So we can change how we do our pattern. We can do just a boring grid. We can do, which is just weird. You can see how that square in the middle changes your pattern totally. So if we do it on the flowers, for instance, actually that's quite nice, just there. So we take our picky, and then we have lovely backing paper that we could use as part of our design. And again, you can save the pattern, you can export it. and that saves it to PNG, so you're still perfectly capable of taking that into Affinity Designer. You don't have to have Illustrator. Any questions?
Not that I can see. Chat is very quiet. They're all concentrating on their iPads. No, no questions.
Nope. Okay. So that's Adobe Capture and a few of the fun things that we can start to do with that. It's a bit of a whistle stop tour this morning. So let's say that we go to, before I go too far actually, I'm just going to go into Capture and let's go to this one, and I'll just export it as an SVG. Save to file, and yeah, I'll put it in Affinity Designer just because.
Tracy says no, this is fun.
Okay, so if we then go to Designer, really need to tidy up my desktop on my iPad. And we'll start a new document. And go to scrapbook. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go to let's try that one. So I want to import it from the cloud. And that one. Okay. Let's see if it's good enough to actually do it as a thing, if it's done it as an image. It might have done it as an image. Oh no, there we go. So we have all our nodes straight off. Yay! So we can see that we can, let's move air and everything out away from it so you can see what I'm doing a bit better.
Can't be heard back on.
Yeah. You feel like taking command of a bouquet in a minute. The magazine.
I might move where you're positioned in a minute, but
Okay.
because you're over that top corner.
Okay, I'll wait for a minute. Okay. Just because I can. I'll put the glove on. Careful.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just looking at this and I'm thinking that's looking a little like it's gone a bit mad round here. And that to me says that's down to how it's exported the SVG. Now, to be honest, for this image it doesn't make too much difference. It's just a few places I'm going to tidy up in a minute. But if you are having that issue, with any file where you're finding nodes are behaving strangely, the quickest fix is to take it into Illustrator and do a save as, and set it to the proper setting for SVG, which is SVG 1.1, and make sure that everything's converted to curves. Unfortunately, Affinity is not so good at patching that one up. But 9 times out of 10, if you do that, it sorts all these lines out without you having to do it.
There you go. Just to prove they're all linked to my computer that we're doing the stream from, which just told me that Mr. Blakedown has been activated as a font.
So you can see how quick that is to come through. So bear in mind that because we're doing it on our tablet, we could be doing this anywhere. We don't need to be necessarily in the studio. So I'm going to zoom in. So to zoom in and out, you're going to use 2 fingers to pinch in to zoom out and outwards to zoom in. That's pretty much a standard shortcut these days. So I'm just going to grab this point here where it's looking a bit odd. Just going to move that there, just so if need be we can go into it. I'm going to drag my little handle that way so we don't get a sharp point. And again down here, there's something weird here. Let's see, we can just fix that now. So I'm going to move that there, and I'm just going to try and drag this handle if it will let me. Come on, let me get that handle. There we go. So you want your handle to be level to get a nice smooth finish. Now, if we know that we're only going to ever use this at a fairly small size, we can actually go in and we can start to clear up all these little tiny ones because we know that they're going to be too small to cut up or whatever. So if we go to our layers, which is just on the right hand side, and it looks like, how can I describe that? It looks like a sandwich. Very big sandwich, but it looks like a sandwich.
Over there.
Yeah. And that's how we get to all our layers. So if we zoom out, just because you want to be checking that you're not getting rid of the wrong thing. It's a tiny shape, so you can just spin it. So there's a little rubbish bin in the top corner, and you can just click it. To be honest, that didn't even let me click. That it just went just from being hovered over the top. Okay, so next one. Again, I can bin the little ones. Now if while you're doing all this you're going, well,
Tracy got lost on this one.
Where did you get
Which
lost?
bit, Tracy? Gonna put you in the middle.
Okay, so I'm looking at this top corner and I'm thinking it's lost a few bits of detail there. So I'm just going to, instead of worrying about it, I'm just going to go to the crop tool. Just going to crop that. Double it, gave me a yes, no, yeah. There we go.
It says a whole lot, but don't stop, keep going as you'll watch it again later.
Are you sure, Tracy? So I'm going to pull this in because I'm just going to focus on these 2 roses here. So what I did was I selected the little crop tool on the left hand side, click on the biggest shape and pull that in because that's a good guide for starters. And that basically does the same as a crop on Photoshop.
Says yes, keep going.
Okay.
Oh, that should be a better view as well. I've just edited the view a little bit because obviously it's been...
So now the shapes that are sitting over this side we know we don't want, so we can just hit delete. And there's going to be a few more just there.
I've set it so you've got your whole screen on screen. So.
Okay, I'm just going to drag this to the left. I'm going up to that line, so we know that everything is now missing off that section, so to speak. And we can still pick through some of the little tiddly ones.
So the Affinity Designer and me aren't the best of friends.
Oh, come on. Come on. It's worth bearing with it. Okay. Then when you're happy with all that, we can select everything. And if we go to our top section where the 3 little dots are, if you go down the first column, there's a little label that says geometry. That's where all your calculations are. So your add, subtract, intersect, divide, and the XOR is literally where it overlaps, it chops out the overlap, which is useful on the occasion, probably wanting
a blue moon.
yeah, wanting a blue moon.
Zenith is on the same as Tracer will rewatch later, so they're happy for you to carry on, but they'll rewatch it.
Okay. If you do have any questions, please do ask. So I'm going to go to add to weld that all together, and it's going to think about it. So now's a good time to ask questions, because it's going to do lots of thinking. Oh, no, it's not. It's going to crash.
You broke it.
I broke it. That's not on. But the good thing is, I was just about to say, the good thing is it saved a copy.
It didn't.
It did, but it can't open it. Oh, iPad. So it's going to go to device, back to my presets. There we go, scrapbook. Okay. So, place image, import from cloud because that's where our file is. Shall I try the other one that I saved this morning?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll try it. Okay, so it's imported the image and it wants me to drag. So you can see a colour one now. Okay. So I cleaned this up well and treated before I brought it in. So if I go to my layers, you can see with this one, it's actually embedded it. So it's not actually editable. So that's the difference between a colour one and a black and white one. So if I go and bring in, did I save the other one? No, I didn't. Okay, I'll go back to Adobe Capture then and bring it back. Dinky dinky dinks. Go down here and this one, export as SVG and saved file. Pop it in Affinity, save. We can go back to Affinity and I want that one. Click and drag again. So, just for now, it's going to hide that one. And here we go. Bring this one in. It's a bit of a clearer one this to see what I'm doing as well, so it's good. Okay, so you double click it and it takes you to the embedded document. So we can go actually into this, like so. And we can clean it up. I use my left hand to do all the panning around, it's just easier. I'm just going to get these little tiny bits. When I did this morning, I thought to myself, now why would anybody want to do a light switch? And I thought, perhaps an electrician.
It's that light bulb moment.
Okay. There's a little tiny bit in there as well. I just want to get that and get rid of. And everything else is kind of necessary. So there we go. And we can zoom out. We can save it. So save a copy. And you can even save history, which is quite important if you're not 100% certain with the changes that you've made and you want to see it on a bigger screen before you commit to it. That's a good little lever to put on. We can give it a name. So we can go light switch. And save. And we can decide where we're going to put it. So on iCloud fine for me. So I'll just save it there. And in a minute it will be available on the desktop. So the iPad app actually sets exactly the same file format as your desktop app when it comes to Affinity, which is good because you're not having to go between two different file types, which can be a bit of a nightmare, which happens with some of the systems that are out there. Any questions? Oh,
Keep going.
okay. Shall I go back and try and do the other one now?
Or,
I'm going to go
what
back
other
on the
programs
little
did
back
you want to
arrow.
show?
We can go right back there. Pardon?
So what other programs did you want to show?
Procreate, wasn't it? And Adobe Fresco.
Hmm.
So, which one shall I go for first? Because they're both very, very, very similar.
Procreate.
Procreate, okay. So I'll start off with a new blank file to begin with. And let's go
Get
over
a new
for,
blank file.
so there's a little plus icon in the top right. So that's usually the shorthand for a new one. iPad app is a little plus symbol. So if you're looking to start something new, look for the plus. So it's the same with the Adobe Capture. If you notice, it's got a plus for the library and then a camera for the camera. So with a new document, we can start to play with the brushes and other tools that we have in Procreate. So this is a good way to start kind of playing with controlling the pen. And it is up to you whether you use your finger, whether you use a stylus pen, or if you use one like this with a narrower nib. It is up to you entirely. The one thing I would say is a finer one is better so that you can actually see where you're heading. So there's very little lag, so it's quite good. You'll always find that there's a little distance between where you're drawing and where your nib is. The smaller the distance, the better the screen is. So we can just doodle. So if we go into our brushes, you can see that we've got lots of different ones here that we can play with. So I was just on Rainforest, so I can go to Paper Daisy and we can put in lots of big leaves. Or we can go, right, okay, I'm going to go for more transparency and I'm going to reduce the size of my brush. So the top one is the size, bottom one's the transparency, and we can put in some little leaves in the distance. Now when you start to overlay, your colours will get darker because it's only transparency. You're not saying that it's using a lighter colour. So that colour will build as you go back over it. Think of it like a felt tip pen where if you keep going back over it, it gets darker and darker and darker until you eventually get through your paper. Okay, so let's go for something else. Let's go for a twig. Now if we double tap, we get into all the settings for that brush. So we have streamline and jitter, and then we've got all the settings down the left hand side. Change with how it acts to the grain of the paper, the shape that it's using, the rendering, whether the pen is wet. So you can literally have it so it's, when you look as you're adding more and more water, your colour's getting weaker and weaker. We can use a tack, but you'll probably find things like a tack don't work so well unless you've actually got an Apple Pencil. It's about the only one really that works with an iPad that has pressure sensitivity, isn't it? Apart from maybe a Wacom or using an external tablet on Android. We haven't found an external tablet that works on iPad yet. So when you're happy with your settings, you can go. And we can just change the colour, top right, and let's go to a brown colour. So we're in our reds, oranges, and we've gone down in our brightness and a little bit back on our saturation. So think of it as right to left is your saturation. You've got light to dark going vertically, and then you kind of got your strength colour going across. So if we go in here, we can start to do a few trees. Let's go down this way. It's going to be a very short tree, it's a bit like me. Vertically challenged.
Just goes off your paper into the top of the tree.
Huh?
Top of a tree.
Yeah. That's kind of the plan anyway. But then we can actually start to smudge our painting. So if we're not happy with the technique or the texture that we're getting, we can actually start to play with it more. We can smudge it around, and this is one of the things that I actually really love playing with when I did my recent painting, but just playing with the smudging and being able to use different brushes also with the smudging. So if we click on the little finger again, you can still play with the same brushes, just they react differently with the paint, so we can start to pull out little feathery bits if you want to. So it's not so so you can just give a hint of there being a branch somewhere in there, rather than having to worry about how they finish off. You don't even have to be that kind of precious with it if you don't want to be. So I don't like that bit there, so I can just take it out. Eraser works exactly the way you expect, it takes it out totally. And at any time you can just undo using the bottom left corner. Okay, so starting to play with that is all well and good, and it's a very quick doodle. But if we go back to the gallery and I go into this one. So this is actually based on a real photo, so if I go to my layers, I've hidden my original reference. Oh dear, okay. I'll get to a new one then. So we can use a photo. And let's go for one of the ones that we've taken this morning. Just because there's some pretty flowers, so let's go for that one. And if we go to our layers, we can actually edit what our layer is. So we can say it's a reference layer. So that means that we know that that's our kind of original source. We can name our layers, which is useful. We can copy layers. We can apply a mask to our layer as well. So if you've seen some of the funky like hand lettering ones where you've got different colours going underneath your letters, that's done with a mask. Any questions?
No, Tricia's saying she can't comment at the moment. Mouse died again, but I'm still watching the Lily.
Okay. No worries. So, with our layers, you'll see that's got a little plus next to it as well. So, that's how we do a new layer. And then we can actually start to work on top of this. So, with our other layer, I just want to... There we go. If we click on the little N, we can actually turn our opacity down so it's more of a guide. So I can go back to my layer 2, which is my new layer. I'm going to change the colour of my brush because going in a droplet is a bit extreme. Go up to the lighter colour and I'm going to take it more around to the yellows. Go a bit warmer than that, I think. Okay, going to go to my brushes. And let's start off with, I'm going to click off and then I can actually start to draw in the colour. So I'm just going to try and work in to the deepest areas of the colour. Now I can reduce my brush size, and remember there's no pressure sensitivity with this pen at all. It's just there as a pointer. So this is no different to if you're drawing with your mouse on a computer. So I'm just putting colour in the darkest areas. And tracing a photo like this is a good way of getting used to the different effects you can create with your various brushes. And you can download extra brushes for Procreate. So I have some that I need to install, don't I?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to go and put the little triangle in there. Okay, so more or less happy with that. So now we can go to our smudge tool and we can start to blend out that colour. Can't come out, I'm busy. I'm doing a stream. Go away. So I'm just using little tapping motions just to blend it out. And then when we get to larger areas we can just do a little flick and that's blend your colour like so. And in the same way, if you're finding your brush is too big for you to do what you want it to do, you can always shrink it down the same way. So you can see, if I go to layers and turn that reference off, we're already starting to get the beginnings of arrows. So you've got a lovely kind of soft watercolour effect going on. So if I put that back on, and we can go back to our brush, because we haven't changed our colour. So if there's bits where we've pulled out too much colour, we can start to add in a bit more. We've got a dark bit in there that's kind of missed. I'm just going to reduce my brush size down a bit more. And don't hesitate to twist your iPad to suit you as well. Don't think you've got to try and struggle to get it where you want it to go. Just gonna, and if it goes in the wrong place, just undo. Like I said, there is always going to be a slight distance between where you draw and where your nib is. So if you need to, just zoom in and help yourself out a bit. So I'm just going to add a bit more in there. So we've got the curve of this petal here. And a bit more in here as well. So all of these techniques I'm using in Procreate you can also do in programs like Affinity Photo, Photoshop, Painter if you're made of money. It's expensive, isn't it, Painter? Clip Studio Pro's another one. If you're looking for something free to play with, there's a very good open source program called GIMP that is also a photo editor, and again you can do all of these same painting effects. So I'm just going to put more in there where it's pulled it out a bit too much and a bit round there. And likewise, if you start to find that your smudging's getting a bit too OTT, we can actually start to restrict how much that's going to blend as well. So I'm just softening these edges. So don't worry about if you can't draw a straight line. You don't have to do. Just going to soften that side there, and that in there. And if I go up here, there's a bit more that needs painting in around there. Again, need a bit more in there so we can do. And you can see I'm really not being careful about how I'm applying this colour, because I know I'm going to go back in my blend tool anyway. Now if I turn my layer back off again, and you want to be doing that frequently just to check your work. So now really we need to concentrate on around our flower to actually give that some negative space to sit into. So what I will do is I'm going to create a new layer, and I will rename this one. I'm going to call it Palette. Okay, I'm going to switch to my brush tool. I'm going to make my brush bigger, and just somewhere down the side of your image I'm going to scribble the colour. Okay, so you want to make sure that it's in there, and then we can always come back to that same colour if we need to touch up. So now when I change colour, that means I still have a reference, but I can go, okay, I need to go to green. It needs to be desaturated but fairly lightish. So I'm going to go around there. Okay, and before I go too far, I'll scribble it in my palette too. I'm going to go back to my painting layer. And if you wanted to at this point, you can actually do the green as the separate layer, so you keep the two separate. So I'm just going to start a new layer, so we'll pop it just one above. And we can just shrink my brush back down. And I can draw around underneath here. And at this point, because we're going for our light colour, I'm not going to worry about the shape of the leaves underneath. It's more about creating a negative space for this flower to sit into. So you can always change it at a later point. So I'm drawing around my flower until it hits the next flower. And again, this has got a petal that comes around here, and I'm just going to take this around this bauble just for now. We have another flower there, so go to my smudge tool. Just going to blend that out a bit. So I'm just softening the outside edge. And I turn my layer off. You can see that, okay, we need to do a bit more in here to get this shape. So it's all about checking all the time. So if we want to go back to our flower, we can go to colour, and I need my lip tool, which I can't see for looking because that's what I'm doing at the moment. Come on. Come on, eyes. Stop it. Where's my picker tool gone? It's probably staring me in my face. How did I do it before? Come on, me out, Ian. I can't see it for looking. I did before, didn't I?
Is it in your tools rather than you?
No. That would be useful. Come on. I need my picker tool.
Is it in classic at the moment?
Really should have put this on to do not disturb. Come here. It's definitely not wanting to play ball. I did it before, didn't it? Just fine. It's just being awkward.
What was that then when you pulled that out?
No, that's just a paint bucket.
Oh.
Don't want that. I want that colour there. Or anything.
What if you drag that colour into the...
I tried that. Doesn't want to go. I know I did it before. Oh well. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out eventually. No, I'll go back to this one. Because sometimes it's just easy to just... Let's go there. Make sure I'm in my right layer. Go in here. Make the brush a bit bigger. Needs to be slightly... Slightly warmer. Let's try that. There we go. Close enough.
Tracy says check your preferences.
Check your preferences. Not helping.
What about your actions now? Is there one that you can... That's alright, Sarah. It's nice to see you.
Anyway. So I'm just gonna run that. And go back to the brush. Go in there, around there. And then around here. Needs to go a bit lighter just up there. Okay. Lighter and a bit warmer. And we can just get a little bit bigger brush. that was out a bit quicker. Round in there. Up there. And a bit up there. That. No. Need that bit bigger. Not that big.
Sarah Lee said hers is chocolate and crisps. I'm the bestest of her friend.
Don't tempt me.
We haven't got any
Okay.
of either.
So, just check my layers again. Do a bit more dark colour just in
Okay.
that bit.
Tracy says tap your little box over on the left between the two sliders and hold your finger down on the colour.
See, I knew I'd done it somewhere. Come on. Come on. Little box. Behave. There. Yeah, thank you. Right. So we're going to put a little bit just in there as well. Because that would be the dark colour from that one, and that looks like that would be part of that same petal, so we're going in there.
So that one might.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
I knew I'd done it somewhere. There we go.
Too many programs.
Yeah, there's too many programs, you tell me. I take my. Let's see. I have a rose. So that one, and to turn my layer back on, just for reference. So I'm gonna go around here. It's all green. There's even a little bit of a leaf here. And just to take out the bauble and me taking the picture, it's going to pop in another leaf here. Wow.
Picture of you hadn't spotted that. That is
Yeah, I'm spotted by hand taking the picture. Okay, so I'm just going to blend that all in. And it's good to have a bit of variation at this stage anyway. So if we go to this colour, I'm going to go a little bit darker.
Yes, we're working on an iPad. It's a 5th generation iPad.
And what should be wanting to say about the pen? Yeah?
Yeah. And it's under gesture controls apparently if you want to change it.
Okay, I will do. I will do. Just wondering where to pop this on another layer. Very quickly I'll just scribble me palette. Dee. And then, just because I want it to blend, I'm going to leave it on that same green there, and I'm just going to come over here. Pop in a bit of shade around there. I'm going to bring it back round. Petal just there. And a little bit in there. And a darker section just around there. And so just the vein of the leaf there, and a bit more just here. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my smudgy finger And just blend that out. So again, just going to gently tap just to blend those edges together. I can always come back and just erase.
Yes, on an iPad working in Procreate. And using an active stylus pen, which I got from Amazon.
It's not very expensive.
No.
But it does make life so much easier.
Because it's a 5th generation, none of the Apple Pencils actually work on it, so you can't, even the original Apple Pencil won't work on it.
Yeah, so
Hence we had to get a compatible one. Yeah.
But it has no pressure sensitivity, it is literally just a pointer. But it's a fine tip pointer just to make life a little easier, rather than trying to use your finger. Just makes it a bit easier to see where you're going. So next I'm going to slightly change my colour, I think. So I'm going back round to my creams again. Yeah, I think I'm happy there.
Last comment, because now my phone is going to die. Have you ever played with the Animation Assist, Natalie? It's a lot of fun.
No, not yet. Procreate is a relatively new program to me, actually, I have to say. Before I was using that, there's lots of different things I've tried, isn't there? Sketchbook Pro, then there's a really cool sketch app that I used to use on my Android tablet, which was really weird because it was a bit like drawing with iron filings. It would actually do lines that would join up to make your curve, a bit like a spirograph if you imagine, but stretched out. So you could actually do shading with that. It's a really cool app, and nothing exists like that for iPad, unfortunately. So with my new colour, I'm going to go for another new layer.
I'll save an animation for another.
Yeah, leave that for another day. What's the one we used when we did the skeleton? That's a funny one to play with.
Can't remember. Carefully timing that.
Okay. So I'm just going to not worry too much about the stamens at this point, because we can draw those back in on a separate layer on the top, so that's fine. Just go in there, and there. And then this afternoon what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a bit more on using Affinity on the iPad. So everything you do on the iPad you can do on your PC version. So it's going to be well worth joining in. So a bit more in there, in there. And we can go nice and dark in here. So once you've done all your drawing, before you do your blending, I would just pop in a little bit of the darker colour in there so you can blend that in as well. Can trace around that petal as well.
Did you colour swatch on that?
I did. I'm just going to tidy up these edges in there. And there's a little tiny bit in there. And there's a little bit in there. stain back out. Give this colour, deepen it down. Yeah, that's about right. Go to my palette there, do a scribble. Go. And we can just scribble in there. So as I said, don't worry about your stains because you draw those in separately anyway. And then we can do some blending together. If you find that you're getting a bit of a hole in your blend, you can just pop in a bit more colour. I think my battery's starting to go.
Use it all night.
I'm putting it out very slightly. So I did it on the wrong way. I did it on the wrong way, that's why. Let's take that out for a minute then. There we go. Nice and easy. Really nasty. Brush. Dinka 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 dinks. That's why it was getting hold. There we go. So it's going to blend this out towards the outside as well. And tidy up that edge where it's blended outside my petal. So to move it round, all I'm doing is just twisting my fingers rather than pinching. Just going to tap the small areas that this kind of levels in. I need a little bit more just in there, don't I? Do that colour. Just want a little bit more just in that section. There we go. A little bit in there. There we go. Okay. So, in the last 10 minutes, am I allowed to show something else? So, if
If you
somebody
quit.
wants to So if you wanted to do the stamens easily, what I would do is hide the flower layer, start a new layer. So it still puts it on top of the flower layer, but because we've removed that barrier, we can see our original photo a lot easier. I'm going to go into my brush. Let's change it to some basic kind of, yeah, let's go for that one. Zoom in. It's going to zoom and some colour down there. This is going to look a bit weird, but hey ho. Doesn't matter for now, because we'll go back and we'll add shading and then blend the two together. And you don't have to do every single stamen, thank goodness. Otherwise I think Ian might flop with me.
Why did I throw you? I'm just giving you away at the time, that's all.
I'm just doing a few like so. And let's pick up the darker colour. Now with your brush, you want to apply your shadow at the base of each. And you want to try and be as consistent as possible with your way of placing this, which is an interesting concept when it comes to working with the iPad. And if you're doing this on a graphics tablet on your computer, you'll find it infinitely more easy when it comes to drawing on any program. I'm just popping in little bits of the darker colour and then begin going with our smudge. Now, if you find that your smudge is too big, I'm going to take it down. I'm also going to take down the transparency just a little, because I don't want it to take too much of that colour out from that section. Just want it to soften it. This is a very quick way of doing it. And you can be far neater than this. But then when we put on our layer underneath, you can see that we're starting to get in our stamens. Okay, what will help to pop these out is just some highlights. So if we take that layer back out, on there, just going to pick a lighter version of that colour. So as it is, that's quite a good choice for where I want it, and we can actually draw in lighter colour. So at the moment you probably won't really see it. Might be a bit too subtle. Let's see how we go. Then if we go back to our layers, popping our layer underneath, you can see it's starting to pop. So it's bit more
Excuse me.
onto these bits that aren't coming through so much. And I'm almost happy with that. So if we zoom out and take off our reference there, you can start to see how the painting is going to come together. So what I'm going to do eventually is I can turn that into a reef, or into a printing cut design. The choice is mine. Okay, so this afternoon I'm going to do some work in Affinity Designer on the iPad. So while things will look in different places if you're going to work on a PC or a Mac, you can do exactly the same, just following the usual directions. Okay, take care, and we'll see you back at 2. Go watch Pete in a minute. I might get some lunch, maybe, if I'm lucky. I'm not sure if Leslie's going live today at 1:30.
I think she's due back today, so...
Alright, okay.
Yes.
I hadn't seen the tree. That's what you get for going on Facebook early doors.
Yes. Okay.
So, hope you enjoyed that and found at least part of it useful, if not all of it. And we'll see you at 2.